Parallel lines and perspective drawing. Okay? How many of you have done a 1 and 2 point perspective drawings before? Okay. So we may start this out and you may end up going, oh yeah, I've done that before. Okay? This is our goal. Now, I don't want to spend too much time on the goal. I want to dive into the actual drawings. It'll help you to have a ruler. So if you don't have a ruler or a straight edge, grab one now, please. Okay, can I please have your attention up here? Someone, I don't know if someone in this class left this, but someone left a flexor ruler. Yeah, it's pretty flexible. Okay? All right. So we are going to go into drawing perspective drawings. Now, I've given you some instructions on your note page. Step 1, draw a horizontal line. Okay? We call it the horizon line and a vanishing point. So what I want to do is I want, where down on the bottom of yours it says now your turn, I want to actually draw one of these. Okay? Now I'm not going to do a perspective drawing, a 1 point perspective where it goes straight back this time like this picture does. I'm going to actually move my vanishing point over a bit so that my prism will go off to the side. So we won't see it going back, we'll see it going off to the side. Okay? So it'll be a bit different. The important thing to understand is that 1 point perspective goes back to 1 point, and the part of the drawing that you see the most of is the front, versus a 2 point perspective where you see the corner. That's the closest part to you. Okay, so let me say that again. In 1 point perspective, like the face of the prism is closest to you, and it vanishes to 1 point. A 2 point perspective drawing, so on this one, once we're done with the figure, the part that's closest to you is the edge. It's an edge of the figure, and it vanishes out to 2 points. Okay? So we're going to practice both, and then you'll be able to hopefully identify and do some sketches here. So first thing, we're going to draw a prism here. I'm going to draw my vanishing, or excuse me, my horizon line there. And somewhere on that horizon line, I'm going to put a vanishing point. I'm going to put my point over off to the side, which means I should actually have my square face here. So I'm going to put a square face, or at least a quadrilateral out here. I guess I'm not actually constructing a square, but... All right. So this one will look a little different than the one we did just a few minutes ago, or the one that they've done up here, looked at here. Okay? All right, so we've done step 1. Nice. Okay? Step 2. Step 2, lightly draw in the segments for the vertices of the square to the vanishing point. Okay, so I'm going from each of the vertices of my shape to the vanishing point. Now, when I do this, I'm going to do it a bit differently than the way they did it. I'm actually going to, go light here, but as I get those top two, I'm going to keep those solid, and even this one over here I'm going to keep solid, but this one that I actually goes through my square, I'm going to dash it as it goes through the square, just so it helps me to see that illusion of my figure is actually going through the prism there. Okay. Last part says draw, or step 3 says draw a square for the back of the cube. Now when I'm looking at your drawings, things that I look for, my eyes automatically go to are parallel lines. So you'll notice that this original side of the square and then this side of the square are parallel. Everyone see that? Okay, and this side of the square and this side of the square are parallel. So when you're drawing your back part of the square, now you could put it back as far as you want. I'm going to go about that far, but I need to make sure it stays visually parallel. Now that doesn't mean we've constructed parallel, but at least visually looks like it's parallel once I'm done. So that line and that line look parallel. Okay? If they don't look parallel, that really messes up your drawing. Sometimes students will bring me their drawing and say, "What's wrong with it?" I go, "Well, your lines aren't parallel, so your eyes are telling you something's wrong." And it's sometimes harder to figure out what it is. Okay? So I now have that point and that point, which correspond to that vertex and that vertex. Okay? And so I'm going to now take the top and I'm going to slide it back, kind of make sure they're parallel. All right. And now this line and this line are parallel, or look parallel. And same thing with this other side. And if you've done it right, your last line should automatically look parallel if you connect these 2 points. Okay, now once again, if you want to make it seem a little better, you may dash this line because you really wouldn't even see that whole line there. So you may dash it up a bit. And you start getting a lot of different lines in there, and it kind of messes with your eyes a bit. So the last step, step 4, says complete the figure by using dashed and hidden lines for the cube, and then erase the unneeded lines. Now before you erase all the unneeded lines, I want you to leave some of the construction pieces in there. So let me show you how I want to see that. Okay, you can erase right next to the figure, like these extra lines. Okay, but the lines that are going out to the vanishing like that, I want to see this part of it so that I see you actually made your construction. Okay, and then you'll notice like this is an extra line through the back, just on mine there. So erase that part of it. Okay, and you make sure some of these are dashed, and make sure if you've erased that you haven't erased parts of the figure. So now you have a 1-point perspective drawing. Like if you're standing at the end of a long straight road and you look way off into the distance, that road would vanish to a single point. And you know it doesn't, like you're like, "Oh dude, look, everything ends at that point up there." You know that's not reality, but that's just visually how we see it. It's a 1-point perspective. Okay? How many have done those before? They're pretty cool, man. Any questions? Yeah?
So, the 2 top lines, are they supposed to be parallel or no?
No, these won't be. Nope. Just your horizontal and verticals on that one. Okay? Next one, let's go on to 2-point perspective. 2-point perspective, remember you see a corner of the figure. So, a 2-point perspective involves 2 vanishing points. So, step 1, you draw your horizontal or your horizon line and the 2 vanishing points. So, again, if I need a different piece of paper here, but if I'm doing a picture of this, I'm going to draw a a vertical line out here somewhere. That's going to be the corner of my shape when I'm done. Okay? And then I am going to draw a horizontal line back here and somewhere 2 vanishing points. Now you'll notice these vanishing points are about equidistant from that line. I'm not going to make mine equidistant. I'm going to make one kind of closer and then one further away this time. All right? Which means I'm going to see a figure. This part of the figure is going to be different than this part, whereas in this one you're kind of vanishing the same distance on each. Cool, man. All right. Once you have that, take and make a point at the top of your line and at the bottom of this line. And lightly draw the segments vanishing to each point. So from the bottom of the line, vanish it off to that point. From the top of the line, vanish it off to this point. And then do the same thing to the other point. From the top of the line and from the bottom of the line. That last line was not a good drawing. Okay. And then draw two vertical segments between the segments. Now these are going to be the back corners. So in your final figure, this is our front line that we have. The segments we're about to draw are this one and this one. Notice they're parallel. So when I take this and I go, well, I want this side of my figure to be about, bless you, about, let's see, that long. So there's my parallel line. And I want this side of my figure to be about, well, let's go that long. Okay. Make sure the lines are parallel. These are the ones that kind of start looking non-parallel. You're like, oh man, that's really not good. Okay, so I try to slide my ruler. I make those points there. Okay, and now you have to vanish those same lines out to each point. So I need to go from this point up here, I need to vanish, I need to draw it out to that vanishing point. And then I need to do the same thing from the bottom of that. Bless you. You only go out to the far vanishing point on that one. So you don't, it's already connected to this one, right? Because it's already, we drew it on that. Okay, whoops. And the last step, well, the last part of the vanishing lines, we go from that top out to that vanishing point. And if you've done this right, we get a good check here in a minute. Go from the bottom out to that vanishing point. The cool thing is, if you've done it right, where these two lines cross, that point and that point, if you're to connect those 2 points, those should be parallel. That line should be parallel to this line, and this line. That's the back corner of your figure. Okay. Once again, as we erase our extra lines, leave some of the construction in the back towards the vanishing point so I can see it. Erase the unwanted lines there. See, it's a good trig video. You guys can't wait till next year, man. You watch those amazing trig videos. They're pumped. Okay. So we end up with that figure, and then you'd want to dash your lines. Like, unless we have X-ray vision, we couldn't actually see that whole line. So we would dash it back there. Now, some of us with X-ray vision may not dash it. pretend like none of us have that. Dash. There, we got it. Okay, on a 2-point perspective, what's closest to you?
Corner.
The corner. 1 point, what's closest?
The front.
The face. Okay? All right. Any questions? Pretty cool, man. You can make some cool drawings. Valentine's Day's coming up. Make them some drawings of shapes. One